Hello, folks. Welcome back. So, at the moment, what we're going to do in this lecture is user account management. It's going to take us a while to finish. There's lots of things that I'm going to actually share with you guys, things that you're going to be dealing on a daily basis, restrictions, creating accounts, resetting passwords, disabling accounts, etc. So, let's go ahead and start with all this fun stuff. So, what I actually have at the moment is the server and two actual clients, and you'll see why I actually have two actual clients at the moment. So what I'm going to do first is let me just go back to my domain controller. I only have one at the moment, which is actually fine. So let me go ahead and just log into the domain. So at the beginning, I have these departments. I want to start creating users in these departments themselves, right? That's what I want to actually do. I'm going to ignore QA and NY for now. I'm just going to focus on sales and HR. If I go to the sales OU and I click on the one face over here, that creates a user account. Every user should have a user account. You have an organization that has 200 users, you should have 200 user accounts. If you don't have OUs, you're not going to put them under the users container, right? So I'm going to go to sales and I'm going to click on the one face and I'm going to create the first user. I'm just going to make them shortcuts as S1. Normally, you'll have the first name followed by the last name. It could be the first letter of the first name followed by the last name. It depends on what type of structure you'll be dealing with. So the logon name is going to be S1. I'm going to go next. I'm going to try and put a blank password just for testing. I always like the user to put their own password. So I'm going to go next and finish. And look, I got an error message here. It's because of the password policy. I have to put 7 characters. I actually have to make it complex. I want to simplify things for the sake of the lab. Then when we get to policies, we'll see the how we could actually enforce security. So I'm going to go to Tools, Group Policy Management. I'm going to expand the forest. I only have one domain, expand here, and I have a default domain policy. I'm going to right click and choose edit. There's a section just about policy, so no worries there. And this is actually under computer configuration, policies, Windows settings, and security settings. And then I'm going to go to account policies and password policy. And I'm going to go ahead and make this disabled. So it's a simple password and characters is going to be 0. So I don't have to actually put an actual password. And I'm going to say do not keep history. I'm going to be able to use any password that I want. So this is actually good. Minimum password age 0 so the users can actually change their passwords right away. And you'll see why I'm doing all of this. I'm going to close this out. Close this out. Anytime I change an actual policy, I have to run GP update to refresh my policy. So I'm going to open the command prompt and let me just change fonts over here. Right, 36 is good. Color, screen text, and green. So right over here, I'm going to run GP update, which stands for group policy update. That's how I could actually refresh the policies. If GP update doesn't work, then I do a GP update slash force to, to refresh my policies. But normally a GP update is actually fine. I could do a GP update space slash force, but I don't actually have to do it. So if I minimize this and I go back to my user itself, so remember, I'm leaving it blank, next, and finish. I was able to create it. This time, I'm going to create another user, S2, but I'm not going to force the user to change the password next log on. So you can see the differences between all these options, next and finish. So every user that I create by default, they could actually log on to any system that is part of the domain. So let me minimize this, right? And let me go to my first Windows 10 machine, and I'm going to log on to the domain. So I'm going to say other user. I'm going to say S1 and the password is blank. I should be prompted to change it, right? I'm going to change it to a random one and just go ahead and log on. So I should be able to log on. There we go. At the same time, I'm going to go to my second 10 machine and try and log on as S2. This time, it's not going to ask me to change the password. So here's S2, enter. I should be able to log on. So by default, when I log on, it generates a default profile, right? Which is a local profile to the system. I'm able to log on with both of these actual accounts. So let me go back to the actual server. And this time I'm going to create a new user, right? And I'll call it S3, right? I'll leave the password blank. User must change password next log on. I'll actually do that. Go next and finish. Let's say the user forgot the password. You would have to do a reset. So if I right click S3 and I reset the password, I'm going to give the user a temporary password and force the user to change it at next log on. Then I click OK. All right. So this is S3. I could use any computer right now. So I'm going to go ahead and wait, let's say, for this computer to log in. Then I'm going to log off and log on as S3 with the new password since I actually forgot the password itself. So there's a difference between resetting a password and changing a password. Reset is done by administrator. Change is done by the actual user itself. All right. So I could log off by just going to run and I could just go ahead and log off as you see. Then I'm going to log on as S3 and with the new password that I actually have. So let's give this a moment. And I'm going to go ahead, other user S3 and the password. If I put blank, it doesn't work. It's 123. And now the user has to change it, right? I'll leave it as blank and I should be able to log on. So that's how I could reset an actual password. If the user wants to change the password, I could actually do that. So if I go to this system over here, if I open the command prompt, which user am I logged in with? All right, it says S2, right? You see that? It's S2. So if I want to change the password, I can press Control Delete or here Control Delete and change the password. Old one is blank, let's say, right? New one is a new one, which is 123, and I click on here, and now I was able to change the password. All right. So let me go back to my server and create a new user. And look what I'm going to do this time. Let's say this, I don't want the user to be able to change the password. Let me create an S4, right? S4. I'm going to say user cannot change password. And I'm going to leave it blank. I'm going to go next and finish. I'm going to go ahead and log on as S4. So let me log off from here, right? And I'm going to log on as S4. And I'm going to try to change it as S4, but I won't be able to actually change it. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So go ahead and S4 and log on. It's going to generate a new profile, and I'm going to realize that I can't actually change it. So I could log on to all the computers with the same user account. Watch this. Let me just show you that. All right. Let me sign out, and I could log in as S4 onto this computer also. There's no restrictions at the moment. Right, folks? So watch this. S4 and log on. See, I could actually log on. When I attempt to change the password, I'm not going to be able to because I actually put a restriction for that. So let's take a look and actually see. I'll do it actually on this system. This one should be able to log on prior, and we'll see if we could actually change the password or not. So there's some situations where you don't want the user to change the password itself, right? So there you go. I'm there. Let me just try and change the password for this user account. So I'm going to do Control Delete, change a password, and I'm going to 123, 123, and I can't access is denied. You see that? All right. So let me go back to my server and create an S5. Now, let's say S5 left the organization, right? What do you do with that user account? You never delete accounts. Never delete. You always what? Disable. You always need it for future reference. Next, finish. And now look, there's a little black arrow to the bottom. I could have just right click and disable from here. Now it says enable. See, now it's enabled. I could have just right click and choose disable account. That's another option. Or I could have just double click it. Go to that account tab and scroll down over here. An account is disabled. So let me log on as S5 and I'll do it on this system over here. Let me just sign out and log on as S5. So there we go. Other user S5. All right. And let me log in. Look, your account is disabled. This is the worst thing that somebody can see when they log on. It means something is wrong. So this account is actually disabled. So what I did in this lecture is just a few things: reset password, change password, disabling accounts, right? And there's another one that I want to actually do over here is, which is account expiration. And watch this. Like it's a consultant, right? I just want this person to use it for just 2 weeks, all right? So watch this, S6, and I'm gonna go next, remove the check mark. We already know what this is, next, and finish. Double click S6 account, and I'm going to say account expires when, and if I expire it today, they can still log in. So I'm going to actually leave it as the 19th. All right. So this is going to be back in April, right? Where did we go? April. And let's say 19th. I should not be able to log on as S6. Let me minimize this and cancel, sign out, and try to sign on as S6. So let's take a look and see how this actually works. Call the user S6. And look, your account has expired. All right. That's what I would do with consultant, like temporary users, as you see. All right. So we're not done with users. I just wanted to give you a little thing what I could actually do with user accounts. So we're going to continue more with user accounts in another lecture in a few moments. All right, guys. Later on. Bye.